Hi everyone, I'm Gina K from Gina K Designs and your host of Stamp TV. Today on Stamp TV, I'm going to show you how to do the black magic technique. I can't believe as long as Stamp TV has been on the air that we haven't done this technique before, and I think you're really going to like it. Let me show you the tools and products that you need to make this card project. First, you're going to need some ink, and the ink that I'm going to use is the Gina K Designs white pigment ink, and I'm also going to be using some of our black dye ink. Now, a lot of you have asked about our white pigment ink, so today's a great opportunity for me to show you what that ink looks like, especially stamping it on black cardstock. Then you're going to need some colored pencils, and you can use any kind of colored pencils you want. And I've heard people use watercolor pencils. That's just fine. But the colored pencils that I'm using today are the Spectrum Noir blendable pencils. And I'm not going to be using all of these for this card, but you want a wide variety of colors to make different cards using this technique. Okay, so for stamps, let me move this over. For stamps, I'm going to be using this stamp set. This is the Simply the Best stamp set, and I'm going to be using the Flourish stamp along with the should I use Your Simply the Best or So Grateful for You? I think I'm going to use So Grateful for You because that will make a nice thank you card. So that's the stamp set that I'm going to use. You're also going to need some pop dots. You're going to need some scissors, and then cardstock. I'm using the Gina K Designs Jelly Bean Green, some of our white cardstock, and our black Onyx. And then I have a little piece of white cardstock here for my greeting. Okay, so you're going to need some pop dots, some adhesive, and you're going to need a white gel pen, or you can try one of these. This is the American Crafts Galaxy Marker. It's a paint-like ink for dark and light paper. Now let me tell you where I got this. I got this in the dollar section at Target. So, you know, for $1, if you can find them, grab a couple of them because they are phenomenal. They work so well. So I'm going to show you how I use that. But if you don't have this, don't worry. You can use a white gel pen and it will work just as well. All right, so let's start with this black piece of cardstock, some of the white pigment ink, and this Flourish stamp. Now, when you're working with pigment ink, especially when you're going white cardstock and or black cardstock and white ink, you want to make sure that your stamp is completely saturated. So what I like to do is lay the stamp on its back, and I like to ink it up this way so that I can look at it and make sure that I've got complete coverage. And as you can see, that's pretty good coverage. Okay. So I'm going to start right up here in this corner and stamp this Flourish. And you want to make sure that you put a little bit of pressure on it and give it just a few seconds for that ink to transfer to the paper. Okay, so look at how beautiful and bright our white ink is. And as far as the dry time is concerned, if you just let it sit for about 20 minutes, it'll be completely dry. Maybe even less time than that. But you can certainly help it along by using a heat tool. All right, so I'm going to put one here, like that. And we'll put one down here at the bottom. Let's see, maybe we'll go in, we'll do this. Okay. There we go. So that's a little bit of glitter from last week's project. I still have glitter all over me. Okay, so now you want to take a heat tool and you just want to gently dry the ink. You don't need to get too close to the cardstock. If you're worried about it warping the cardstock, you can also kind of hit it from behind and that'll kind of warp it back the other way so it keeps it nice and flat. And then you can just touch it, and if it still feels tacky, well, I would let it dry just a little bit longer. Now what I've done here is I've stamped another one earlier and I just let it sit out, so I don't have to worry about it, you know, continuing to use the heat tool and boring you with that. What you might want to do is stamp a whole bunch of these panels and just let them sit overnight, and then you've got all kinds of panels ready to go. All right, so I always like to have a little scrap of white paper to test my colors on first to see which colors I want to use. So I'm going to draw a couple of the pinks here and see which one I like. Oh, that's pretty. Let's see this one. That is very pretty too. And then this one would be a nice pale. Let's check one more here. And one more. Okay, let's start with the one I just drew. Now what you're going to do is you're going to color right over the white ink. The ink is dry. It won't hurt your pencils at all. And if you find that the pencils are picking up a little bit of the ink, you can just scribble that pencil off like this and the ink will just come off, or you can sharpen the pencil again. So I'm going to start with the darkest of the pinks, and I'm going to work that into the center here of the flower. I'm going to do all of the flowers with that darker pink ink first. Like that. And you can see, because you have that white ink down, you're getting nice bright color, which you wouldn't be getting if you were just coloring right onto black cardstock. Okay, so now we're going to go with a lighter shade, and I'm going to work those two colors together like that. Now this tutorial might be a little bit long, just because you have to kind of watch me do the whole thing here, but you can also do it along with me if you've got white ink and black cardstock and you're ready to go. I'm just going to get rid of the excess there. And then I'm going to go with a real light one and finish that out toward the end of each flower. I'm kind of coloring over the areas that I just colored and blending that pencil out a little bit. I think it's probably going to need maybe a darker color. Let's try a darker pink here. I really want to bring that color out. See how that looks. And maybe a little bit more color. So there is no right or wrong and no definite colors that you should be using. Just kind of play with them and see which ones look the best. So we'll bring some more color out. And we'll finish up with this one. Very pretty. I'm going to show you a different sample that I did too in a different color combination that you might really like. Okay. Just pull out my eraser here and just get rid of some of that. Okay, there we go. Now if you feel like you need more color and you want more pink, just grab a darker pink and you can add it kind of like that a little bit more. Then we're going to start on some greens and yellows for the flourishes. Now, if you're using watercolor pencils, I would not advise activating them with water afterwards because it could kind of mess up the ink underneath and the paper. So just use them as a regular pencil. They will still work as a regular pencil. Okay, so there we go. All right, now we're going to bring in some greens. And I'm going to start with a darker green, and I'm going to color down this flourish in this darker green, but I'm not going to color the whole thing. I'm going to bring in some of my other colors. Okay. Now I'm going to go with the next lighter green and blend that together. And you can see how that's starting to make it glow a little bit more. I tried to find a colored pencil that looked like a close match to my jelly bean green cardstock, so this looked pretty good. But again, it's really just a matter of just playing with the different colors that you have, and you probably have a whole bunch of colored pencils. You can use just regular old Crayola pencils for this. You can also use Prismacolor pencils if you have a high quality art pencil like that. And again, all you need to do to just get the color off the pencil is just to scribble it off, or you can sharpen it. Okay, so there's one. Let's quickly get through these other two. And you can vary them too. You can have some that start with the dark green and flow into the lighter green. Maybe you want to do one that starts with the light green and flows into the darker green. That two-tone look is just very pretty. Okay, and now we'll start with this lighter green in this area. For those of you that are into the coloring book craze, I am. I have several coloring books. I just love them. This kind of satisfies that need to color this technique, because you're really just following along with that image. It's just you're getting a really bright, glowy, colorful technique out of it. I have not tried this with any other type of coloring medium, but I have heard that people do it with chalks, the pastels. So if you have chalk pastels, you could try that as well. Alright, and we're going to do the last one here. And then I want to show you how I embellish this using that nifty little dollar spot white pen. I didn't even expect it to color, to tell you the truth, but I knew it was by a good company. I just couldn't figure out why it was in the dollar bin, but maybe it's a discontinued product. So if you have a Target near you, check it out. Alright, and do the last color. Sometimes it's fun just to sit and do this and just save them for later when you need a card and you know what kind of greeting you want to put on it. Just have them all ready to go. Okay, so there is that background. Isn't that beautiful? Black magic. Okay, so now I'm going to mount this onto a piece of white cardstock, and I'm trying out some tape. This is tape that I had gotten in my goodie bag at the Bella Crafts conference, the Scotch Extra Strength Adhesive Roller. If you happen to pick up any of this tape and try it, it really is a great tape, but one thing I'll tell you is when you get done and you're ready to lift it, instead of just lifting it straight up, kind of push it to the right or to the left, either way. But that will kind of snap off the end of the tape and it won't get stringy. And now this whole panel is going to go on top of my jelly bean green cardstock. Okay. So there we go. Okay. Now I'm going to stamp my greeting real quick on this little piece of cardstock, and I'm going to stamp it over to the edge a little bit, to the right side, right about here. And then I'm going to show you how to make a little kind of banner out of that in just a second. But first, let's grab this white pen, and let me show you a way to decorate this that's really pretty. It's really unique, and I think it just adds so much to it. So I'm just going to put little dots just kind of going around these flourishes. And you can see I'm getting a nice bright white color here. Isn't that pretty? Do a couple on the inside here. And then I'm going to put one little dot on each of the flowers, each of the petals of the flowers, and then I'm going to put 3 in the center, like that. Then I'm going to put one little dot on the end of each of these empty flourishes. And I'm going to repeat that for each of these different flourishes. And with a pen like this, you can really go quickly, and it gives it some really neat detail. You have to kind of see what I did on the other one. One dot there, one there, one there. Go around in here a little bit, and then on my petals. And the last one. And don't worry about being perfect. It's, you know, this is very hand-doodled looking, and that's kind of the look you're going for. So if all the dots aren't perfectly spaced, or you did a different area on one flourish than the other, that's okay. It's just kind of neat to change it up a little bit. Okay. So there is that. Now, I'm going to grab my paper cutter again, and this particular little piece of cardstock is 1 inch wide. So I'm going to put it between 2 inch marks, and I'm going to grab just a regular pencil and kind of follow that down right about there, like that. So I kind of marked the center at the 1/2 inch mark. And now, to make perfect tails on my little banner, I'm going to cut from the one point to the dot, one corner to the dot, and then the other corner to the dot. And that gives me a really nice, evenly spaced banner where one tail isn't longer than the other. And if you didn't get your pencil mark off of there completely, you can always just erase it. Okay, so I have a couple little pop dots here, and I'm going to put one on each corner and one right here. And if you happen to be lucky enough to get some of our black pop dots as an incentive, they're really nice to use on black cardstock because you don't see them at all. It just looks like the white piece is just kind of hanging there. Okay, and we'll put that right down here at the bottom. So that is my finished card project in pink. And let me show you this one. I did this one in a variety of blues and teals. So you can see that they're pretty much the same card, just different color combinations, but you can see how beautiful that pencil just jumps out when it's colored over a nice opaque white ink. I hope you've enjoyed today's video project. Stay tuned to Stamp TV for lots more crafty cards, and if you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon back here on Stamp TV.